Okay. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Leaders Live. We're just gearing up to get Denise Roberts on our show this morning, on the breakfast show this morning. Just counting down to that now. Hope you can hear the background music and all the rest of it. We're just kind of gearing up for that. And Denise is going to talk to us this morning about a book writing, discovering your superpower by writing a book. So exciting today. I can't wait to talk to Denise, and I hope you find it great too. I'll be just waiting for the live to come up on LinkedIn, and it just has, so that's just great. So just gearing that up now. And yeah, so wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having a great start to the day, or a great middle of the day, or even a great end to your day today. And I wonder what people have got in store today in the UK. It's going to be a great day, I think. So, and here we are. So we're just counting down now. So here we go. 2, 1, 0. Well, okay. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to this week's Leaders Live breakfast show broadcast, streaming on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, all at the same time. Quite amazing. It's just amazing what we can do. So, a quick teaser for you. Have you ever thought you have a book inside you waiting to come out? And if you have, then you're not alone. This is a common experience for many people, right? And why does writing a book feel such a big challenge to so many people? How does the act of writing it develop and changes as we go through writing a book? And what do we learn about ourselves during the process? So that's all to come in the next 30 minutes or so. So if you don't know me, I'm Andrew Jenkins, and this morning I'm joined by the lovely, awesome Denise Roberts. So hi Denise, how you doing?
Hi, I'm great. Fantastic.
Fantastic, brilliant. I hope you can hear us okay. I'll do a sound check in a minute. But today Denise is going to talk to us about discovering your superpower by writing a book. And great to have you on the Leaders Live show, the breakfast show this morning, Denise. I think that deserves a round of applause. So, hooray! Brilliant. So listen, Denise, we'll come back to you in a moment, and we'll talk about all things books and editing and publishing in a moment. Just a few little technical things just at the moment. Look, we had a lively bunch last week on the chat with Guy Danes talking about SME sales and business strategy. I had loads of questions on that, and that's fantastic. So thank you, Guy. Listen, please feel free to interact with us on this channel too. If you're new to the channel, please put new in the chat so we can say hello to you. If you want to ask us a question, that's great too. Just put a Q in front of the comments field in the chat on the comments, and we'll get to picking them up. We're getting good at that. So please let me know also if our audio is coming across okay for you this morning. Sometimes the levels just take a little bit of adjusting to make sure that both Denise and I are coming across all right for you this morning. We've got 5 people on at the moment and counting, actually, so fantastic. Let me just set the scene very briefly, a bit of context setting just before we start. So listen, I set up Leaders Live to explore high performance team topics and interview people with the kind of mindset and passion to help businesses succeed in these rapidly changing times that we're living through. And listen, you've got to be living under a rock if you haven't realized that times are changing, and times are changing real fast. So that's what Leaders Live is all about, picking up that. And the research tells us, folks, that around 80% of key business change projects, that's a heck of a mouthful, don't actually deliver on their promised game changer change. So, I believe that the real solution here is about facilitating your people to make a difference, being awesome together. And that's all about developing high performance teams. And I'm kind of known as the high performance team guy. We'll talk about books later. I've written a book about that, and we'll maybe touch on that later. And the real impact of high performance teamwork is what happens between people. It's all about relationship. That's the real power here, the real impact here. And it's more than just how-to methods, or because you have the right skills and the right people in the right jobs. It's much more than that. And with that in mind, Leaders Live is all about helping business owners, managers to build unconventional wisdom that taps into our kind of innate superpower. And we're talking about superpowers today, of I to the power of we. And that's very much linked to where we are with writing books. So let me, in a moment, let me just introduce Denise. Denise is a member of Inspired CEOs, which I'm also a co-founder of. And Denise's LinkedIn strapline is editor and book strategist to CEOs and senior leaders. She is an ex-journalist and CEO and founder of Editors Chair. And that was been 17 years ago. So, Denise, great to have you on the show again. We're talking about discover your superpower by writing a book. So let's dig into this fascinating subject, Denise. They say, don't they, Denise, that there's a book in all of us, right? And that we have a story, a life experience that is meant to be told. But it's a whole load more than just finding our voice, isn't it? And getting it out there. Talk to us, Denise, about the personal experience. What do we discover about ourselves in the process of writing a book? Take it away, Denise.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Andrew, for that wonderful introduction and for having me on Leaders Live. I'm so glad to be here.
You're very welcome.
Just so much of what you said there in the introduction about, what Leaders Live is all about supporting high performance teams, about helping people to find their superpower, especially to navigate in the day that we're in. Where there's so many different changes, so many things happening around us, and so much uncertainty. And the answer to the problems, to the pressing problems, to the things that people are going through is inside us. Inside us. And it's wrapped up in those experiences that we've had, the knowledge that we've developed because of the experiences that we've had, the person who we've become because of the experiences that we had, those stories and those messages. And as you said, there is a book wrapped up in all of that, getting all of that out and sharing it with the world. It's so much more easier when you write a book, because of course the book can go places where you can't. It can open doors that you can't. Writing the book is a fantastic way for people to share their superpower with the world and to solve all of these problems. But as you've said, there's more to it. Yes, we know our stories, we know our messages, but there is more to getting it out of our heads and out of our hearts and onto the page. And that's why people struggle. They think about the process of writing a book as one big task. I want to write a book. And they're thinking like that. I want to write a book. People say I should write a book and they have no idea where to begin. And of course, that's not surprising because they're thinking about it as one big job. And it's no wonder it feels mammoth. It feels overwhelming. It feels insurmountable because we're thinking about it as this one big bite that we've got to take. And so that's the first place that I often start with the people that I work with and support along this journey, is to say, writing a book is not a single task. It's not a single job. What you need to do is to break it down, break it down into those bite-sized steps, and then you'll find it much easier to bite things off. It's not more than a mouthful, and it's rocking out all over the place.
So it's all that overwhelm, isn't it, Denise? And actually, just before we carry on, Denise Guy has just joined us. He's also from Inspired CEOs, and he says,
"Hi, Guy."
He says, "Yeah, so hi, Guy. Denise is on her game." So that's Guy. Brilliant. Okay, So the whole personal aspect of, I've just written a couple of notes as you've been talking. It's an act of becoming, and it can be quite overwhelming, can't it? And actually remember, a book has got lots of chapters too, and it can't all just be out there all in one go. How do we discover that kind of voice of ours as we're progressing then, Denise? What are the kind of things that people have to go through? Because the emotions are like ups and down emotions as well, writing a book, I guess. Tell us a bit around that.
Yeah. I mean, at least, before we approach it, prepare for that, that
Yeah.
it is going to be a journey, and accept that. There's a series that we've got going out that's just talking about that, when we approach this task of writing a book, we often feel a resistance inside,
Yeah.
and rather than resisting it, we should flow with it. Um,
Yeah, flow with
some
it.
people say you should flow with it. I mean, some
Yeah.
people talk about it in the sense of, like you've got a muse
Yeah.
and you've been selected to bring this message. You've been selected to write this book. And
Mm.
so thinking about it in the sense that you're receiving it, almost like you're being dictated to, like a secretary being, kind of like taking the messages down, like you're receiving this message and you're writing it down, and that's your task. That's the role
Ah,
that you play. Is it's in there somewhere.
it's in
That
there
message is
somewhere.
in there somewhere, and
So,
yeah,
are,
so
are, are
kind
you
of working
saying?
with it in that sense.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Guy says, yeah, it seems like such a big mountain, doesn't it? And he's
Yeah,
spot on there. And just that whole thing about making it impersonal, Denise. Is that a strategy that you kind of works because you've obviously done it with many people, just being slightly more impersonal about it, so it doesn't become. It's more about the person inside you rather than you trying to
yeah,
get wrapped up and associated with that. Is that right? If
yeah,
I've got that
yeah.
right.
Because we say that writing is not just about making things up; it's about getting things down. So
Ah,
that's suggesting that there's a message there that will come through. I mean, you just think about it. How many times we've been in this flow? We've been in this
yeah.
place where we're writing something and we're in flow, and it just comes out naturally. It's
Yeah.
like one thought triggers another thought, and then it just flows out. So
Okay.
we've all kind of like experienced that, being in that kind of zone. And so it's working with that same energy where you kind of you relax into it, and it flows through you. But
I
that's
love
not to
that.
say that you don't plan things.
Yeah.
That's not to say that you don't plan things, because when the idea comes to you, or there might be a problem that comes up, or you're aware that you've got a solution to something. And when the idea first comes to you to write a book, it comes as an idea. And so I would say to people that the first step that you should do is make a mind map,
Make a
or
mind
an
map.
idea map, kind of brainstorm, sit down with a big sheet of paper and explore, and do that kind of word association thing. It's the same thing that happens in our minds when one thought leads to another. And so if you sit down and you first of all plan it on the page,
Yeah.
and just free flow, and
Free
see
flow.
what comes up.
Yeah.
And from there you will be able to kind of make sense of what you've received, because there is a kind of partnership between planning and also being creative,
Yeah.
kind of controlling it and letting it go.
Planning
And
and
we
inspiration,
we
right?
yeah, we've got to know when to do which of those. So
Fascinating. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. All right, let's give you a breather for a moment. I love the way you talked about being in the flow. I've just written down a few words as you were going here. Being in the flow, brainstorming, getting into that zone, Denise, and letting the energy flow and relaxing, but planning at the same time. And it's that juxtaposition, isn't it, between creativity, inspiration, and planning, where it all kind of comes together. That's where the magic happens, isn't it? And yet so many of us, I remember when I was sort of beginning my journey on writing a book, the kind of insecurities start to surface up as well in that whole process, and then that thing called writer's block, where you just can't write. I remember getting stuck in the middle of my book at one point and just couldn't write it. And these are perfectly normal things, aren't they? These kind of emotions come up.
yeah,
What have you got to say about that, Denise? What are the
yeah.
kind of experiences that you've experienced? And Guy says, does it help setting a deadline date as an objective as well? So that's a question
Yeah,
which
yeah,
Guy's.
yeah.
So we'll
And
come on to Guy's question in a minute. But talk to us about that whole
yeah.
piece about that juxtaposition and that writer's block thing, Denise.
Well, first of all, you mentioned this thing of insecurities
Yeah.
that can come up, yeah, and that
Mm.
is a big thing. Like a lot of writers do experience that. In a sense, like what I've been saying about not resisting things. Embrace your insecurities. Actually,
Yeah.
they may just be a gift in disguise.
Ah, I
While
like
you're
that.
writing, yeah, while you're writing your book, your mind, I mean, obviously it depends on what book you're writing and what you're writing about. but those insecurities may be, material. They may, it may be material that you can use to enhance your book.
Gotcha.
So there may be things that you can use that's buried in that, like, the experiences that you've gone through in the past that is for that book. Or it may just be that, you just need to work through what is causing that insecurity. And I've spoken quite a lot about the kind of experiences. The first experience that most of us have with writing is in school, right? And if you think about it, in school, our first experiences of writing is to write to please the teacher,
Absolutely.
or to write to pass the test. It is to write to be judged, in a sense, yeah. So you know that your writing is going to be assessed, and so it may be that there are things that are kind of like leftovers, like the root of that there is somewhere, that, and that's the reason why you're feeling insecure, because you're thinking about writing for Mr. Timothy or whatever
the teacher, right?
So in a sense, you think you're writing the book for your clients, for your audience, for your readers, but you subconsciously, you've got your teacher there, and you're thinking, is this going to be good enough? Is my writing going to work? Are people going to get this? There are questions that subliminally, are there in the background, and that could be why you're feeling insecure. Somebody told you that you're no good at writing, you can't write, so your ideas are no good, or you've done it wrong, or whatever, or somebody, that you've got that experience, and that's what maybe under the surface. So just be aware of why the insecurities are there, why you feeling like that. Just keep that in mind. And in terms of like writer's block, I think that because people experience writers, I mean, they talk about being in the wilderness and, no words are coming forth.
Yeah.
Why don't you try writing about it? Write about the writer's block,
That's
actually staring it in the eye. And
brilliant strategy.
That it's not there. Embrace it again and write about it. I'm feeling this, or I'm seeing this, or why won't the words come? And even if you're not going to use that in your book,
why won't the words come?
Engaging,
I
with
love
it's
that.
Stopping you.
I love that. Yeah, brilliant, Denise. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I remember those, feelings of, coming up when I was writing, but you're so right, and it's great what a brilliant idea to see it as a hidden value and a hidden depth of us. Andrew Selly says, good books on your bookshelf, Denise. So he's looking at that. We'll come back to those in a moment. Andrew Selly says that. Oh, that's brilliant. Hi, Andrew. Good morning. So, Guy says, great point about the teacher issue as well. Do you know what? I mean, I get that completely. That whole piece about being judged for writing a book, and you've got to get through that. I love that idea of, and maybe that's also something else you can write about. The feeling of being judged when you're a kid and how different that's going to be now when you write this book, and also using the same trick to get over writer's block. That is a really clever idea. I love that. And Andrew, we'll come back to Denise's bookshelf right in a minute. So, but before we do that, I just want to, Guy's username isn't coming through for some reason, but Andrew's is. Does it help setting a deadline date as an objective when you're writing a book, Denise? That's his question.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, because obviously the deadline gives you something to work towards. And it's just the same like you'd set a goal, something that you want to achieve. You know where you're going, and you've got something to guide you and to work towards. So setting a goal is important, and that's what I do that with the authors that I work with. We set a goal, we decide when do we want to publish the book, and what do we need to do in order to get there. So when you're writing, you do need to set regular times to write.
Okay.
You need to organize in that sense. So setting a goal is important. Yes, Guy, absolutely.
So it sounds to me also that it's setting a big goal, with target dates, and then also breaking it down into smaller subsections of smart pieces to deadlines to hit along the way. Would that include, for example, writing this next chapter by next in a couple of weeks or whatever, or a target for every chapter. You've got a week to write the chapter, or 2 weeks, or a month, or how do you go about that to
Yeah.
set those kind of deadlines?
I mean, I do a goal setting session with my
Ah,
authors every
yeah,
month. So we look at the goals that we want to achieve for the end of by the end of that month,
yeah,
and then we break those goals down week by week into milestones. And I think that's really important, because when if you I mean, sure, a month is not a long, that's not really a long time. But
no,
if you're saying that you're going to finish your book in 4 months, 6 months, sort of time, the milestones can, they play the role in encouraging you.
yeah,
So as you hit each milestone, you know that you're moving in the right direction. It inspires you and motivates you to keep going. So the
yeah,
goal plays that role as
yeah.
well as giving you some ideas. When are you going to finish this book? Because Andrew, you know that there are many people out there that say that they're going to write a book. They plan to write their book. They've got an idea that they want to write a book, but then they never do, because they
Yeah,
never set a goal. They
yeah,
never set the goal. So
yeah.
the goal setting is important, and breaking it down so that you can see that you are progressing towards that ultimate end.
Yeah, and you know what? It seems such a big mountain to climb, doesn't it? Writing a book, and yet, step by step, page by page, chapter by chapter, we start to climb the mountain, right? And I guess
Yeah,
also, using this as an analogy, I guess the higher you go, the better the view gets, and you get it informs you as you're climbing this mountain of writing your book, that new information comes to mind, I guess.
yeah, exactly.
Mm.
As you progress, it's a journey, isn't it? So
Yeah, the journey.
you
Yeah,
go on this journey, you discover new things. And that just sort of
uh,
reminds me of what you said earlier on about the growth,
yeah,
because the growth, what happens to you. I love this. I love the fact that you're writing the book.
yeah.
Yes, and writing the book, there's going to be a benefit in writing the book. You're going to be able to connect with people and use it to
Mm.
build your business, to open doors for yourself, all of that stuff. But it also transforms you, because no matter how much you know about your subject, as you go throughout the process of writing your book, you will grow in your knowledge of that subject.
Yeah,
Your knowledge of that subject will widen as well, and deepen, and
of
because
course.
there's other things that you will go into and you will look at, and you'll get a better idea. So you become more of an expert
Expert.
in what
Mm.
you know as you go through the process of writing the book. And of course, as we said earlier on, you discover new things about yourself. You might not realize that you might not realize, you may forget things that you may not realize how you feel about certain things. And as you go through that process, it causes you to dig deep inside,
Dig
so you
deep.
can kind of
Yeah.
know more about who you are. And
Oh, I love that.
I just remember in one of my authors that said, I keep pinching myself,
Yeah.
to think that I'm writing a book. And that, just imagine just how wonderful that makes a person feel. It's a sense of achievement. There's that sense of expression, that you're sharing something that is in your heart. And
Yeah.
all of those things can add to your transformation and your growth as a person. So writing a
Yeah.
book also helps you to grow,
To
to
develop
kind
and
of bring out your
grow. Yeah.
superpower, as we've said.
Yeah. So you find more about yourself as you're climbing the mountain of writing your book, right? And
Yeah, exactly.
what surfaces up as well is all good information that helps you to overcome the things that stop you, the things that used to get in your way. And I guess the higher up you climb, then you also learn, how to overcome those things, and
Yeah,
also at the same time find your voice and express that. There's so much going on here, isn't there, writing a book?
so much, Andrew.
Oh
Yeah,
my
so much.
gosh, yeah. So,
Yeah, exactly.
you guys listening, and watching this, it'd be lovely to hear what your experiences are of just writing, or if you've got any questions for Denise as we're going along, please pose them.
Yeah,
It'd be really interesting to see what others have got. Something that I found, and I understand this is quite a common experience, that people get stuck, maybe in the middle of writing their book, and the journey gets tough. There might be somewhere on the mountain where you've suddenly got to have a whole new strategy to climb to the next point. And I found that I got the kind of end point of my book, maybe. I've certainly got the beginning book because I'd written it. but I was really stuck in this middle ground. You know, it was really hard to glue the two together. You know, have you got any thoughts on that, Denise? Is that something that other people experience?
Yeah, I mean, the as you go throughout the process of writing the book,
Mm.
it will challenge you in various different ways.
Oh
And
yeah.
some people may be stuck at the beginning.
Uh-huh.
Some people are stuck at finishing the book.
Yeah, that blank
You
page.
got stuck
Yeah.
in the middle.
I did.
You got
Yeah.
stuck in the middle in
Yeah.
terms of like, yeah, just trying to do it. But you can ask yourself questions like, what am I trying to say here?
What am I trying to
You
say?
know,
Yeah.
what am I trying to say here? Um, you know, um, you know, again, who am I speaking to? Who needs to know this? Who needs to, who needs me to write this book, or who needs me to write this chapter? And what is it? What is it that they need me to be saying here?
Yeah.
So I think asking yourself questions like, or what am I thinking? What am I feeling? Why does this matter? How
Yeah.
does this connect? And don't feel afraid to stop in the middle of writing your book if you need to go off and to do more research. If you need to have a conversation with somebody to unpack some of the things that you've been thinking about, some of the ideas that are still on, kind of like unformed or a bit hazy. All of that is part and parcel of the process of writing your book. It doesn't mean anything is wrong. It just means that the message is still unfolding. So you need to
Oh
give it
yeah.
that space
Love that.
to unfold.
Unfolding. And
Work with it.
yeah, I like that, and the speaking to the book as it's been developed, and finding your kind of communication voice within it as well. How does
Yeah.
the relationship between the editor, because it's a very close relationship that I found
Hmm.
writing a book, between me as the author and the editor, and that very close relationship, because that is all about teasing out how to find your voice. Denise, talk to us about that relationship. How does that work? What do people get out of that two-way relationship between the editor and themselves?
Yeah. Well, your editor is like a coach.
Yeah.
There to share that journey with you, to come on
Mm.
that journey with you. That hero's journey, and then you get
Yeah.
that. You get the one that comes along and helps you, points the way, and so forth. And
Mm.
there is a marvelous kind of like miracle magic, in having conversations.
Yeah.
We have these conversations, and through the process of having the conversation, it unpacks the idea.
Yeah.
um, Talking to somebody else about your idea
Yeah.
will kind of like helps to open up another perspective, something that you may not have thought of. And
Mm.
that's the role that the editor will play in coming alongside you, in to help you to unpack things and to think a little bit more deeply, asking you questions, helping you to develop that book and
I
to
love that.
become the strongest that it can.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I say don't just consult an editor at the end of the journey. Like,
Yeah.
most people think, you write the book and then you find an editor to help you to
Yeah.
prepare it for publication. But actually, the editor can bring you a lot of value if you work with that person from the beginning, in
Yeah.
terms of structuring your message,
Echo that.
and
Yeah.
breaking it down, and
Yeah.
kind of like helping you to know how the message kind of unfolds from the beginning of the book to the end of the book. Does it line up? Does it
Does it
work?
line
Does it
up?
make sense? So
Yeah.
it's a intimate relationship of having somebody share the journey with you and invest in your idea, invest in your book, and help you to land it.
Yeah, and yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I've spoken to a lot of people in different contexts, but having a wing person, if you're trying to do something like this, having a wing person to work with you as the book is unfolding is so important, isn't it? And in all walks of life. I know a guy I spoke to some months ago, Derek Stewart. He does sort of endurance things, really challenging, incredibly difficult personal challenges, races around the world, and he has a wingman with him to practice and to work with, a wing person to help him along the way. And that you just said exactly the same thing, that actually as an editor it's really important that you invest some of your time
Yeah,
with somebody else to come along the journey.
yeah.
And
There
there's
are
a few
things that you can't see.
yeah.
There may be things that you don't see. You
That's
know,
right.
you're too close to the whole thing, and so there are
Yeah.
things that you miss, and that person's there to help you to see them.
Yeah.
Yeah, bring it out.
I think Guy says, it's an investment in wealth, around the topic all round. He says there, it's more than just wealth, isn't it? It's a wealth of knowledge which comes out here as well, isn't it? That investment in investing in someone, a skilled editor, to help you along the journey of writing that book. And it's a thing you journey together on that hero's journey, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Fascinating.
and it is. It's a wonderful, it is a wonderful
Mm.
experience.
Oh, yeah,
If anyone, just like you have a coach and they help you
yeah.
to,
Good point.
help you
Yeah,
to discover things that are hidden inside, and we know what that feels like.
that
And
hidden
when you're writing
inside.
a book, it's the same. We're digging
Yeah.
for gold. We're bringing out the
Digging for gold, folks. That's what we're doing here.
we're releasing that superpower.
Brilliant. Yeah, I like that. Like sparkles on the, diamonds on the sea, isn't it? Diamonds in the ocean. It's
Exactly,
those sparkles you're looking
exactly.
for.
Yeah,
So listen, we're coming
great.
to and sort of, a close point here, the 30-minute mark here, and just talk to us a little bit about, what sort of tips. Give us 3 tips that we could take away here. That, what would be your top 3 tips to help us here, that help the folks write books, and that editor stroke author relationship. Tell us a bit more about that. Give us some tips.
Well, first of all, just as I said earlier on about allowing the message to flow through
To
you,
flow
at
through,
least
right?
be open to that. Be
Right. Yeah.
prepared to do that. Be open to that.
Yeah.
Allowing the message to flow through you. Don't kind of like resist it in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So approaching it that way.
Okay. So
Break
let
it
it flow.
down.
Break it
Don't look
down.
at the
Yeah.
book. Don't look at the book as one big task, one big step. Break
Yeah.
it down
Break it down,
into
little
bite
pieces. Yeah.
size. Start first with unpacking the idea. Just start
Yeah.
there, unpacking the idea, do a mind map, a brainstorm around that,
Okay.
and from there you'll see where to go next.
Yeah.
How all the ideas fit together, and how
Yeah.
to create chapters out of those various different topic categories that you come up with.
Yeah, I really like that. It's almost like, on a journey at night, you can you can imagine you're in a car, that the headlights will only get you the next 200 meters or so, and then after that, the next 200 meters will unfold, and everything unfolds one after another, doesn't it? Writing a book. Yeah,
Have that faith that it will happen for you.
I love that. Okay,
Yeah,
thanks, Denise. It's been brilliant to have you on the show. I reckon we could do we could do a round 2 of this, Denise, and we could talk
definitely.
even in more detail about this. So thanks ever so much, Denise. So listen, I hope you found this topic useful for you guys, and this has been food for thought for you. And by the way, look, if you're seeking help, getting started writing your own book, then please contact Denise directly. She is your editor. She does a fantastic job of that. I know several people that are using Denise right now to help them edit their book, and it's a great journey that she helps you with together. So don't do it alone, folks. Do it with an editor, just like Denise. And if you're seeking help with building high performance teams, then please contact me via my website, PDX Consulting. And also, look, if you're an SME business owner, CEO who's finding it lonely at the top, and at those levels who doesn't, then please feel free to contact me about joining and learning more about our Inspired CEOs community. Denise, you're part of that community. Would you like to say just a quick word on how that's helped you to grow and develop your own business as a
Yeah,
CEO?
there are things that we can't see, our blind spots
Yeah.
that we can't see. Being in the room has been incredible, just in terms of expanding my thinking and preparing for the new world that we're entering right now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and we do that together, right? Because there's something about being in a group that you feel safe and you can belong that really helps us all to develop. We all develop each other, right? So
We're a great bunch.
yeah, great bunch. Yeah. So there'll be links to all of that in the text shortly, folks. And so really, that's a kind of that's a goodbye from me, and it's a good day from Denise. So we hope to see you again shortly, very soon. So let me just pop onto the last scene. So yeah, oops, wrong one. That's not the one I wanted. That's the one I wanted. So from Denise and I, thank you very much for listening to us. I hope you have a really great day or a great afternoon, or wherever you are. in the world today, whatever time that is, hope you're having a great day, great afternoon, great evening. And please feel free to contact us through the comments function. This post will now post onto LinkedIn and all the other channels. So yeah, and we'll see you next week on Leaders Live for another cool topic. Cheers for now, everybody, and thank you very much. And thanks again, Denise. Brilliant to have you on the show. Cheers for now. Bye-bye, everybody.